Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. For the past couple of weeks, the internet has been going crazy trying to figure out what does a statue that was highlighted by Jeff Keighley mean and what game is it announcing? And there are some leaks that pretty strongly indicate that the statue is actually related to Divinity, which is a series that Larian has been famous for quite some time. And I'm going to walk through a couple of pieces that show why people believe so strongly we're going to get an announcement of a new Divinity game during the Game of the Year Awards, but I'm not going to walk through everything, so I will leave a link down in the description. Wolfheart FPS goes through all of the different clues and how they connected all that, but I think it's pretty obvious at this point that the Divinity series is what the statue is related to. So I don't feel the need to do all that. We're going to focus more on this video about how do we feel about that and what does that actually mean, because I think a lot of people are confused. Let's go ahead and go into it. All right, so first let's take another look at the statue. This is one shot of it. So basically Jeff Keighley put this out on November 28th. You see it's got 23 million views at this point, which is freaking insane. And then they also added a tagline: the something are silent, something bleeds, and new something stirs, right? And this is all about an announcement of a new game. So some people were saying it would be Doom, some people were saying Elder Scrolls, some people thought it would be something Diablo related, but there's a strong indication that it's actually about Divinity. So this is another image of that statue, a far away image with, of course, the crazy lights coming out of it. And it strongly relates to a symbol that has been filed for copyright by Larian related to Divinity. And this is a new logo for their Divinity series. Now, let me make something clear that is obvious a lot of people are not picking up on. Divinity and Divinity Original Sin are not the same thing. Divinity Original Sin is essentially a sequel to the Divinity games, or at least Divinity Original Sin 2 is. The Divinity Original Sin 1 was a prequel of those games, but essentially they are different beasts, right? So this is saying that we're going to most likely get a new Divinity game. Divinity games, unlike Baldur's Gate 3 and unlike the original Sin games, they are action RPGs, or sometimes Larian mixed in some strategy elements, some co-op elements. So it's not clearly like just one thing, but they're not CRPGs. So this is going to be a very, very different animal from what we've seen Larian do the past few titles. But again, they're reaching back to their roots. So it's basically a return to the type of games they originally became famous for. All right, so now let's walk through the Divinity games that have previously come out, because it's not clear if we're about to get a remake of one of the Divinity games or if they're doing a sequel, a new entry in the overall series. My guess is that we're going to get a remake. And the reason that I say that is the Divinity games, they definitely have a cult following, right? There's plenty of people who really, really enjoy them, but they were also problematic. Like they never, and from my understanding, having never played any of these games, right? But talking a lot with the people who love these games, none of them actually like just gelled all the way together. For all of them, they were either a lot of bug issues, or some of the systems were not fleshed out the way they were supposed to be. Like Original Sin is when Larian truly found its stride. And so Original Sin 1 and 2, and I was lucky enough to come in during that series, that's where they started creating games that were considered all-time classics. Like Divinity Original Sin 2 is considered to be one of the greatest CRPGs of all time. I don't feel like any of the Divinity games really are considered to be one of the greatest in their particular genre. I don't think Divine Divinity is considered one of the greatest action RPGs to ever come out. And so to me, it makes complete sense that Larian wants to go back and update these and do things for these games that they weren't able to do with the budget that they had before, to get them to that pinnacle that they really felt like these games could achieve. And it should be very interesting to see whether or not they're able to accomplish that. So the first game was Divine Divinity, and this came out back in 2002. Now, again, Divinity Original Sin, which was the first Larian game I ever played, is basically a prequel to this game, but it came out much, much later. So Divine Divinity was one of, I think Larian had one game before this, and then they started doing their Divinity series, and they were on Divinity for quite some time after that. So Divine Divinity is an action RPG with a top-down camera angle, but it was PC, so it was primarily controlled through mouse. Its gameplay was hack and slash combat, and people definitely compared it to Diablo. So as you could tell, totally different experience from what you would get playing BG3 or Divinity Original Sin 2. So moving on, then we have Beyond Divinity, which was again an action RPG and was again considered pretty good. Like all of these Divinity games, they usually hover around like 80% and get around an 80 Metacritic. This was a 73 Metacritic rating, but I think the first one was like, yeah, an 81. So it's like, again, not crazy, not best in class, but still games that people really, really enjoyed and that I'm sure many people would have a good time circling back to. So once again, it's that action RPG combat that the first Divinity had. Now, next up was Divinity 2, and this was again an action role-playing game. Now, one of the unique aspects of this game was that you could switch back and forth between playing as a regular human or playing as a dragon, and there was aerial combat available in the game as well. However, even though I believe this game sold relatively well, it wasn't as highly regarded, in part because the Xbox 360 port was pretty terrible. It was very, very buggy, and so this game ended up getting a lot of negative reviews. And so even on the PC, the Metacritic score was around 72. So it's just not as highly touted and regarded as the original Divinity games, but you being able to transform into a dragon was something people still really, really enjoyed. So it's like they found a gameplay mechanic that they knew they could take further. And then the final Divinity game before Divinity Original Sin got started was Divinity Dragon Commander. Now, this was different in that it wasn't just an action RPG. There was also real-time strategy elements, and they kept the combat elements of you being able to switch into a dragon. Now, this game was more highly regarded than Divinity 2, but it still didn't quite live up to the original Divine Divinity and Beyond Divinity games. So you see that Metacritic score of 76. Again, many people felt like the dragon aspects of this were really cool, but there were some mechanics within the game that were not completely fleshed out. So that kind of gives you an understanding of Larian's original history, right? The games that really made it popular. And again, as I said before, these games considered to be fun, absolutely cult classics, absolutely they have a following, but they're not considered creme de la creme. Larian has created creme de la creme CRPGs, at least two of them. Some people consider the first Original Sin to be one of the greatest CRPGs of all time as well. I personally don't. I love 2 and I love BG3, but regardless, they've created 3 incredible games in the CRPG genre. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm not all that excited about them now shifting out of that and either doing an action RPG or strategy game. That doesn't really move me. But regardless, I plan to cover this game heavy because I wasn't moved by what they were doing with Baldur's Gate 3 at first. I felt like it was such a strong departure from the original games. It didn't seem like something that I would really enjoy. And I ignored the majority of Baldur's Gate 3's development until the very, very end when the game was about to come out. And then turned out I loved it. And I definitely feel like it's up in that pantheon of greatest CRPGs of all time. And I regret that, to be honest with you. To this day, I regret not being more involved in early access, not plugging myself in more with the community. It feels like I missed a moment of gaming history, you know, and so I'm not going to make the same mistake. Whatever it is that Larian does, I don't even play strategy games, real-time strategy games like that. But if they announce that it's a real-time strategy game, damn it, we'll be playing a real-time strategy game on the channel, because Larian has just time and time again proven that they know how to make games people really enjoy. And to be honest with you, I'm happy for them. I'm happy that they are now in a position where they can do what they want. And it really appears that what they decided they want to do is go back to their original IP and introduce it to a new generation, to a new market who probably knows very little about those original games. Even I, as a longtime player, I don't even know much about those games. Again, I started with Larian at Divinity Original Sin. So this is exciting. It should be really, really interesting to see what direction they're going in. As I mentioned before, I will be live streaming the Game Awards on Thursday. So if you're interested, definitely make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you get that notification once I'm online. And let me know down in the description, what are you hoping this Divinity announcement will be? Are you hoping that it's a new game? Is there a particular game in the Divinity series that you're really hoping they're going to remake? Looking forward to all the feedback, and I hope all of you enjoyed this video. Take care.